I had a call with a potential customer from, again, a financial institution, and they came up with a use case that I said, wow, I haven't thought about. It's so valuable and it's so disruptive, but it's something that I never thought about.
Hello, and welcome to Proof of Talk, the cryptocurrency podcast where we invite leaders and builders into the space to come on and talk about their experience in the industry as well as the projects and products that they've been building. My name is Andrei, and I've been in the cryptocurrency space since 2017. I've also helped co found algorithmic crypto trading platform ACR that enables users to quickly and easily automate their trades while managing the risk. I'm here today with Eitan, who is the CEO and co founder of Kima, who is a decentralized money transfer protocol. Now, really excited about this one. Thanks a lot for joining, Eitan.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Andre.
We live in this increasingly interconnected world, so I feel like what you guys are doing at Kima is really interesting, and there's also a lot of complexity there. I noticed some things that I was super interested in, so I wanted to explore your solution in a bit more detail. So thanks for the opportunity to do that. First, I just kind of wanted to ask you what is your kind of journey been like in crypto, how you kind of got into it, and what made you, continue in crypto and blockchain and be where you are today.
So I will take you quite a long way back, 11 years ago.
Okay.
Um, Back in 2013, that was, I remember this period. I was working for Hewlett Packard, for HP. I used to be a product manager and then dealing with innovation management for this huge corporate.
Mm-hmm.
But in my background, I'm a software engineer. That's what I was trained, and that's my passion, technology. In 2013, I came across what we all know today as the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper.
Right.
I read, I heard about this beforehand, but I really took the time to read it. It's not a long document. I think it's 18
Say
pages.
nine. Yeah, I was gonna say like 9 or 18 pages, something like that.
I, well, yeah, around 10 or between 10 and 20. I don't remember. Maybe should reread it sometime. But the experience, so it doesn't take a long time to read. But the experience was really, to me, it was mind blowing because
Oh yeah.
it was an amazing nexus of three main vectors: a financial one, social one, and a technological one.
Yeah.
Now, the disruption in all three and in the combination of those, that was the mind blowing experience because I understood that now there is a way to own your own funds, own form of money, and the implications that are on our society. Maybe that's a moonshot kind of technology, and
Yeah.
uh, it kind of stuck there. So I started. I wanted to try it on. So what can you do with Bitcoin? You can buy, you can sell, and you can hold it. So I started buying really some fractions. It wasn't a financial investment. Maybe I should have invested in that.
Yeah.
Back in 2013, Bitcoin crashed from $1,000 to $200. And so I bought fractions, for $300, not full Bitcoin, but just fractions, just so I can hold them and sell them and experience the whole thing.
Right.
And I saw that it was a very frightening experience, but it was amazing because I understood that now I'm the sole owner of of money. I
Yeah.
don't have to store it somewhere else. I hold it on my phone, and that is that's how I got started. Early on, I also understood the security. Uh, problems or challenges of holding your own funds. Obviously,
Yeah.
you can be the bank, but banks can get robbed. So
Sure. Though if you lose your access, that's it. It's gone. There's no customer service. That's the end of the
exactly,
story.
exactly, it's gone, and nobody to speak with. So my early on, my first project, I have a friend who's a cryptographer, and he has a friend
Hmm.
was another cryptographer, and we decided to solve that pain point. So I was part of this open source project that was the first project actually that created an MPC solution for Bitcoin. So we split the
Okay.
private key in two parts. So there were two parties. One was the application on the phone, and the other party was a small hardware component, a chip that could store the key and communicate through NFC. So
Right.
uh, I think I never checked it, but that was the first cold wallet that was ever created.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
uh, but that's back in early 2014, and we got featured in multiple magazines. And since then, I'm in the space.
That's an awesome story. Honestly, that's a great story. So the purpose of this cold wallet, like you call it, was it you've split the keys so that you can eventually recover them if you needed to? I'm guessing all you needed to have is the NFC chip and your app, so you
Yeah,
could always
you,
recover
you,
it.
you could recover it, and you needed the chip to sign a withdrawal transaction. So nobody could steal your Bitcoin, even if you lost your phone. Without the chip, there was no way to withdraw your Bitcoin. So and I remember I went to this studio of 3D printers. So I printed this type of bracelet with
Right.
some room for this chip on it, and I, carried it on me, and actually it worked. It was and after that, those cryptographers, they incorporated support for Google phones, and so you could hold it on your phone, which already communicates with your phone, store it on the watch, on the smartwatch, and so that was a smartwatch cold wallet.
That's very cool. What's the name? I'm gonna look it up. It seems like great, like a great story there.
You can Google it. It was called Aegis, Aegis, Aegis wallet, Bitcoin wallet. I think if you Google it, you will find the Bitcoin magazine feature on that, maybe even CoinDesk. So
Let's see, Aegis Bitcoin wallet. Yeah, there's Crunchbase. There's the GitHub repo. I can see it on there. That's very cool.
it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a nice piece of history that is.
Yes.
That's great.
So
So
I did
after
the
that, then
design
okay,
of
go on.
the app, and the whole. It was also important for me to have a very straightforward user experience, because being a tech
Yeah,
savvy myself, using those wallets, I was always frightened. Am I pressing the right button? What will it do? And we just did this send receive buttons, and it was what today it seems obvious for us, but back then it was a big simplification of the experience.
yeah. Well, I can see the last commit was 9 years ago. So that was quite a while ago.
I wouldn't try it. I wouldn't use it today. Today
Yeah,
we have other options, but back then it was a pioneering project.
that's very cool. And 100% Java, I see. Nice. Have you stuck with Java for Kima then?
No, 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 no. So I wasn't the coder for this project, and no, Kima today is as it's being developed in Go.
Right.
We're on top of the Cosmos ecosystem, so completely different
Yeah.
technology.
No, 100%. I get that. And I did read that you're into like you've built the Kima chain using Cosmos SDK. So that's really interesting. But first, do you want to maybe give a high level overview of what Kima is, what it's trying to solve and how it's trying to do that?
Yeah, sure. So Kima is you can categorize it in the interoperability protocols category. We're building a blockchain that functions as the blockchain itself functions as a relayer and a settlement layer. So instead of
Yeah.
relying on sporadic relayers that will relay messages between ecosystems, we have the blockchain, the Kima blockchain, that relays messages and also does on chain settlement of financial transactions. Now, early on, when we started the project about 2.5 years ago, obviously we saw that there are solutions. There are interoperability solutions. We know
Yeah.
that there are bridges between blockchains. Back then, we had Wormhole and some others. Later came Axelar, Layer Zero, and we now have CCIP. So all of these solutions, they are great solutions, but they solve a certain part of the problem the way we defined the problem. So we wanted to provide a solution mostly to move around money. This
Hmm.
is why we call it money transfer protocol. And money is not only blockchain money; it is also bank currencies, what we
Right.
call fiat. It is also CBDCs that we will see in the future. It could money is also assets. Assets is also a form of money because you can store value in real estate, which can get tokenized. So we have all these
Right.
forms of money. Money is also debt and loans, right? That's
Yeah.
also
Bonds and yeah, of course.
bonds. So money is many things, and we thought that just focusing on moving one token from one chain to the other chain is great, but the world needs something that is bigger, something that really abstracts all the fragmentation between asset classes and ecosystems. And that
Right.
includes banks, that includes any type of asset classes. It includes public chains, EVM and non EVMs. It includes Bitcoin, and it includes private chains that banks and enterprises use. So the challenge was way more ambitious, way bigger. And today, the only solution to glue together these disparate ecosystems is by putting an intermediary in between. So,
Right.
if you want to transfer money from one country to the other, you have SWIFT as an intermediary with the corresponding banks. If you want to transfer, if I want to send you money, I will use PayPal or TransferWise. But there's always an intermediary in between that you have to become their customer and you have to pay them the taxes, the transfer taxes, the
Of course.
fees, which they can leverage as much as they want. If you want to send money from Europe to Africa, you would pay up to 10% for this type of a transaction. Now, the whole mission, the whole narrative of a blockchain was to remove the intermediaries. So now we built all these hundreds of blockchains, and we now need an intermediary to bridge between those blockchains and the traditional financial system. So the narrative of Kima is let's use the attributes of a blockchain to remove the intermediary also as the bridge between those ecosystems. So
Right.
that's what Kima is all about. Kima is a generic asset agnostic solution that connects those disparate ecosystems, regardless of their underlying technology, regardless of the asset class, regardless of we have no dependency whatsoever. That's one major guideline in the design of the solution. The second guideline, which is connected, is security.
Hmm.
If you put intermediaries, they're susceptible to hacks. If you use smart contracts to manage funds, smart contracts, as we know, they get hacked from time to time, and
Yeah.
actually, uh, almost on a daily basis, we read about unfortunate hacks.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's what cross chain bridges are for the most part. It's this contract on this side and that contract on the other side, and if you could theoretically fool the receiving contract that the tokens on this chain were burned, it will just take a word for it and release those assets.
exactly, exactly, and this is why at day one, our major guideline was: what if we remove the smart contracts? So there are no smart contracts that manage funds, manage money. We have the blockchain that will directly manage the money. That's the innovation here, and we filed a patent for that. So um, Kima is the only blockchain in the world that can directly manage money um, without any intermediary, without smart contracts. The only exception, obviously, is that fiat. There's no way to directly manage fiat.
Right.
We have to manage a bank account that holds fiat. That's the only
Right.
exception.
So when you say that the blockchain itself manages the funds, does that mean that there is some kind of mechanism or logic in place or kind of code, but not in the smart contract kind of way, that is aware of all of these pools and asset classes?
Exactly. Yeah. So the blockchain itself, every node in the blockchain can monitor and attest transactions, so verify transactions. So let's take a very simple example. Let's assume that we want to move 100, we want to off ramp 100 USDC from
Yeah.
Ethereum to a bank account. Now, the validators, they all have connectors to the ecosystems that they control funds on. So that's one component. The other component are the accounts themselves. So we have a liquidity pool or a liquidity account on Ethereum, on every chain that we support, and we also work with service providers that give us access to bank accounts. So
Okay.
and they are, from a legal regulatory perspective, they take care of compliance as well. So they give us an API key and compliance. So um, a Kima transaction basically has two operations. One is a deposit on one end. So 100 USDC gets deposited by the user at the source, which is Ethereum, to the Kima managed account.
Hmm.
Uh, the validators, they attest, they vote, they wait for finality, and then they vote that money was indeed deposited. So we are now certain that there's no way for double spending because
Right.
money was indeed removed from the user's premises to the account. And then the second operation is withdrawing the same amount from the Kima account at the destination to its destination wallet or bank account.
Right.
So in this example, we do off ramp without an exchange in the middle. Again, we remove the intermediary. There's no need for an exchange. Today, there's no other way to do on ramp and off ramp without an exchange. No such way.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
we don't need the exchange because the blockchain settles the transaction without an intermediary.
Wow, that's fascinating. And it's fascinating that you can um, facilitate a transaction from crypto to fiat. Um, that it just opens up, like in my head, like I have a lot of questions right now about this because I was reading your white paper, and obviously you use Cosmos SDK. You use light clients as well to facilitate like interchain communication. So I'm guessing you also use the Well, you use the IBC protocol for that, the inter blockchain communication
We, we,
protocol.
we don't need to. We don't need IBC
Ah,
actually, because we have a light client for every chain that we support. And
okay.
Kima functions as a replacement in a way to IBC because uh, we are already connected to every supported ecosystem. So we don't need IBC basically. The
Okay.
use of Cosmos is mostly on the consensus level and what used to be called a Tendermint. So
Yeah,
this we
Tendermint
took
BFT.
the
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we took that as the basis for the consensus of the validators.
Oh, I see. So you've rolled out your own light client, like your own custom light clients.
We,
Why did you see a need to do that instead of using, say, IBC, which is already available to plug and play?
because it is not available for every chain that we
Right.
need to support. It is not available for Solana, where we've added the Tron. We're now adding Bitcoin. So we did not want to rely on that. There are some solutions that take IBC to EVM, but we do non-EVMs as well. So we have zero dependency on that.
Right. Okay. Because I was going to ask. Obviously, you support. You said you support Solana. You support other networks. I was just gonna ask, how do you manage to do that with using the Cosmos SDK? So you've rolled out your own. So I thought that using light clients means that the blockchain itself needs to be compatible with the light client that you're looking to deploy on it. Have you worked with
Yeah.
Solana Foundation for them to kind of integrate this with
Uh, Not directly. We just used a light client that was available. I'm not
Okay.
sure if they developed it or someone else, but yeah. So typically, in order to add a new blockchain, it helps us a lot. It accelerates the process if there's a light client available already.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. So I was also going to ask you about this crypto to fiat kind of settlement and transaction. So obviously, crypto to crypto, in different chains, you use a light client be able to tell, okay, the transaction is taking place, everything's fine, go ahead, send the money, and then you receive that you get the receipt. How does it work from crypto to a bank? How does that settlement process and receipt
Yeah.
take place?
So you should think of the architecture as so light clients basically are connectors. It's a way to query and control the state of a remote blockchain. Um, so in the banking system, obviously there are no light clients, but
Right.
we're building connectors, and we work with service providers. So there are actually three problems. One is a regulatory problem or challenge, how there's a KYC involved there. There's a bank won't provide an API key to just anyone. You
Right.
need to go through KYB so the bank knows who you are and get approval. So there's the license, there's the API part, and then there's the connection to the blockchain. So we're building. So we work with service providers because those service providers they provide us the regulatory umbrella to operate or work with those banks. So they are already they have the license. Those are virtual asset service providers. They're
Hmm.
licensed in their jurisdiction, and they already have the relationships with banks. So they can open an account which functions as a Kima pool,
Right.
um, a dedicated account, and so it's a segregated account for that purpose only. And they provide us the API. So then we build connectors for these service providers that function as light clients. So it's the same concept as a light client. So the node can communicate, every node can communicate with that service provider.
That's very cool. And what banks do you support currently?
We're doing it. We're launching it one by one. That service is not launched yet. We uh, s- we're starting in Europe because Europe is relatively easier because it has the all the regulation is the same for all European countries. And if you have
Yeah.
a beachhead to one European bank, basically you have SEPA access to every bank in Europe. So we start in Spain with a service provider that is a partner of ours, and that gives us access to euros in Europe. And we're going to replicate that process in every jurisdiction based on demand.
That's very cool. Have you come across any banks or any banks that just are not very crypto friendly? Just to kind of give you an idea, for instance, in the UK, we've seen more and more banks refuse transactions in crypto. You couldn't, for instance, you can't even deposit on centralized exchanges from a lot of the banks. And it seems like as time goes by, banks that were very crypto friendly are becoming crypto cautious, at least in the UK. Like a while ago, it used to be the app that everyone would use to kind of send fiat to crypto, but they've kind of gone like, we don't want to deal with that, so they
Yeah.
stopped people from depositing to like Binance or other exchanges.
Yeah. So um, definitely. So we obviously work with service providers, and they work with crypto-friendly banks.
Right.
Um, the transaction. So the Kima managed account is resides in a has to reside in a crypto-friendly bank, but
Yeah.
then money gets transferred to the user's bank account. Now, I'm sure that this is something that is yet to be seen. I'm sure that some banks will say, although the withdrawal or the transfer is originated from a European bank, they would want to understand what's the entire flow of funds, where the
Right.
money is originated from, and if it's crypto, they may not be willing to accept it. So that's obviously something that we cannot solve. But at the same time, we see more and more openness in some jurisdictions, um,
That's good.
as long as you comply with the requirements. So that is the KYC part. So it's clear who's sending the funds,
Yeah.
and there's the KYT or AML. The it's to know your customer and know your transaction. So it's not about who's sending, but
Right.
what is exactly the transaction. Now, that is another unique feature that Kima has. We've built into our protocol KYT checks. So
Okay.
that's a parameter in a Kima transaction, which you can just turn on. And if you do, we will check the source and the destination addresses. And if one of these addresses is, we're using a third party, a partner company
Mm-hmm.
named Explorers. They do these checks um, on an ongoing basis, and they're fantastic in identifying suspicious wallets. So
Right.
if a wallet just 5 minutes ago was part of a hack and it received hacked funds, and you want Kima to block it, you just when you facilitate, when you invoke the Kima transaction, you just turn on this, you flip on this parameter. We will do the check, and we will just block the transaction because it's sourced from a wallet that is suspicious of being part of some illicit activities.
Right. That's very cool. And I'm guessing all that information lives with your third party provider, so it
Yeah.
remembers the history of the wallet,
Yes.
and you'll keep that in
Exactly.
mind. That's very cool. Is that does that work the same way for KYC? Does Kima support KYC out of the box? And do you store the status of the wallet somewhere so that it can be reused?
So we do not store the information. Definitely not private information.
Right.
KYC. Therefore, um, we do not handle KYC. The application that calls the Kima transaction, the API, usually takes care of the KYC. And if there's fiat involved, our service providers, they also do their own KYC checks. So they want to make sure that they have the trail of who's depositing funds in those fiat accounts. So we provide the infrastructure layer. Then there is the service provider that does KYC checks, and potentially the apps do the same as well.
Right. So, and I think that's an important distinction to mention that you're an infrastructure layer and you're an infrastructure layer in that Kima is, in my head, aimed towards maybe small medium businesses or institutions or maybe Web 2 companies that want to have something to do with like a Web 3 component in their app, but it's essentially aimed at developers and aimed at people or teams that can use your infrastructure, development infrastructure.
Correct, 100% correct. We're an infrastructure. Our mission is to we want to be this infrastructure that nobody heard about, but everyone is using them. That's
That's very cool. That is a very good way of putting it. 100%. Some of the strongest infrastructure companies out there operate on that basis, on the basis that you don't see them because they're so ubiquitous. They're in everything.
exactly. So you,
100%.
you just look through them; they're everywhere. But yeah, that's we're not after the consumer recognition, but we want to be, as you said, ubiquitous. We want to be the de facto standard for moving assets, moving money, regardless of the technology, and just be completely agnostic and standard.
It's a big mission. It's a huge mission, and it sounds honestly genuinely exciting. Um,
It
I
is.
love to keep up to date with it because it's really cool. When did you start Kima? I didn't ask.
We started Kima back in almost 2.5 years ago. It was November 21.
Okay, good
It,
time for a startup. Just as the bull market finishes and the hype's gone and people are just focused on building rather than the price and stuff. So good timing there.
so actually, it's a funny story. I'll make it short.
Now we have
We
time.
the same team started back in early 21. We started a completely different project. We identified the need for automatic risk management algorithms for crypto.
Uh huh.
We thought that hedge funds and everyone was talking about the institutions that are coming, and so they are used to risk management practices, right?
Right.
So and we thought that there are not enough. There's not enough risk management in crypto. Um, so we built an MVP. We launched it in May of 21, and I went out to speak to hedge funds and asset managers and institutions and very well-known crypto projects that some of them are not no longer with us. I won't name names, but everyone knows these names.
Right.
Um, and I spoke to these guys, and that was in the time between May of 21 and November of 21. And if you
Right.
look at the Bitcoin chart between these two dates, Bitcoin went from approximately 30,000 to $69,000. That was just the all-time high of November. And when Bitcoin went up like this, no one, but really no one was interested in risk management.
Of course, yeah. I get it. Because you make money doing everything. You'd make money just
Yeah,
blindfolding, like throwing darts at a
yeah,
screen. Like it doesn't matter. It's all profit anyway. Yeah, that's why a lot
absolutely.
of them went under later on. That's why we had so many bankruptcies because unsustainable business models where everyone would just print money. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was up only for everyone. Everyone was excited. And I spoke to several of those funds, and they told me, "Hey, we have the best." It's funny. Some of those that fell because they didn't do proper risk management. I spoke to them, and they told me, "We have the best risk management people in Wall Street working for us." And then we know what happened. But along this time, we spoke to a Solana based project, and they actually, a DeFi project, and they actually liked
Okay.
uh, what we're doing, and they wanted to use. We were branded, we weren't branded Kima, we were branded Diversified. They wanted to use this solution. So
Okay.
we said, okay, and how do you do risk management? You use derivatives, you use options to manage the volatility and the risk. We built a Bitcoin structured product that used options from Deribit and DYDX. And these are completely different ecosystems. Deribit is a centralized exchange.
Yeah.
DYDX is on the Ethereum ecosystem, and there was no way to use those in the Solana ecosystem. So we started thinking about, okay, how do we connect these worlds? We need assets from centralized ecosystem and from Ethereum, but we want to protect Solana investments, and that got us to start thinking about this interoperability part. So in November, just before everyone went out to their vacations of December, we decided to take the time when it's quiet and there's nobody to speak with to design a solution for that. And that actually was how Kima was born. We designed the solution with the guidelines that I spoke about earlier. No smart contracts, the most secure solution out there, completely agnostic. And when everyone went back to work in January after Christmas, we decided to go all in and make that as our day job, and that's how Kima was born.
That's a very cool story. So you started with a risk management where you'd basically hedge against some crypto assets with other asset classes.
Yeah,
And what?
exactly. Options and the shorts and yeah, exactly.
Right, right. And while you're doing that, then you realize that okay, now we need to bridge all these different asset classes into like one app. And how do we do that? And that's very cool. I love that story. I think it's a very nice kind of um, inception story for a startup, and it definitely speaks to kind of your you and your team's ability to find problems and that are real in this space and then come up with an elegant solution for it.
Yeah, we try to solve our own problem. That's the best way to start a business if you have that problem and pain point.
Yeah, well, I've seen that a couple of times, and it's always interesting. I was speaking to the co-founder of Horizon.io, Michael Sanders, and they're doing they're working on creating a set of tools that allows developers to use Web3 data in their games. So they have a Unity SDK, and they're connected with Unreal Engine, so you can just easily query on-chain data and use it in your game, create like Web3 gaming experiences. But the way they've started it is they were working on they call it sequence. They were working on a game, then they realized that they need all of this infrastructure in order to build this game. So while building the game, they were like, hey, this is a great product that we should probably be putting out there because it's exactly what other people need. So that's kind of
Mhm.
how Horizon was born, how the sequence engine was born.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in crypto. Like I feel people are genuinely passionate about the tech, and then they just start building solutions out of that passion and understanding of the technology. It's great. It's a great creative and emerging space that I kind of love to explore. So that's a big part of why I love having these conversations, because everyone's got like a different story or a different solution, or like they've thought about, oh, it's this idea that I wanted to, and then you get the story, and it's wonderful. um, I just want to move back to Kima for a minute, because you've mentioned something a while ago that I was going to ask you about, and then I just got I just got sidetracked by the things. So you said that the blockchain itself manages liquidity, and I was reading through the white paper, that you're using some kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some kind of AI driven solution to manage liquidity. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like,
Sure. Yeah,
how does it work?
definitely. So we again, this is a part of the solution. So it's not just the technical part of let's move a message between one side to the other, because if you want to move money and you don't want to create synthetic assets, which was a big no-no for us, we didn't want to use the lock and mint or mint and burn practice. We wanted to stick to native assets to make it more secure. Now, obviously, if you do not mint a synthetic token, you need liquidity to withdraw. So a transaction is a deposit and withdrawal. So these accounts, these schema accounts, basically function as liquidity pools, and we built this basically liquidity cloud. It's a network of liquidity pools that you can plug into, and that will facilitate those transactions. Now, the problem is with that, and by the way, by bundling the messaging part and the liquidity part, that's a whole solution. This is a money transfer protocol. So just doing messaging for solving the money problem is not enough.
Yeah.
You must also solve the liquidity problem. Now, if you're managing a network of liquidity pools, um, so it could be that at some point the pools will be imbalanced. It's not that they need to have the same level, but they need to uh, be optimized for the demand. Okay, so if
Right.
you where you we have zk EVM, for instance, and we have Ethereum, two completely different chains. I mean, they're both EVMs, but in terms of usage, zk EVM is relatively small if you check not just the TVL, but actually the number of transactions and the
Hmm.
size of transactions. You cannot compare it to Ethereum. So why on earth would you need the same amount of liquidity on zk EVM and in Ethereum? The demand is not the same. So we came up with this algorithm that automatically monitors the supply and demand, and wherever there is demand, it needs to incentivize liquidity providers to put more liquidity. So we need more supply. How do we do it? So actually, uh, very similar to how Uber works.
Right.
Think of Uber in the central of London on New Year's Eve. Everyone needs cabs, and there are not enough cabs. So how does Uber incentivize more cab drivers from the vicinity, from the suburbs, to come to central London and stand there with these traffic jams? They pay them more. How do they pay them more? The users pay more. This is the surge fee that Uber has. So they use financial incentives to balance the momentary supply and demand. So we
Right.
apply applying a similar concept across all the liquidity pools. So we have a universal view of supply and demand across all the networks, and we have this machine learning model that, based on usage, can predict the supply and demand and adjust the incentives for liquidity providers. So if it predicts that on Ethereum at I don't know on Friday noon, because many people they start withdrawing money from Ethereum towards the weekend, then the incentives will go up. So that's the idea of
Right.
universal liquidity management and applying AI or machine learning more specifically to manage this liquidity in an optimal manner.
Right. Well, that's kind of why I was just dancing around the term AI. I didn't want to say AI right out the gate because there's a lot of hype around. Like everyone's using AI for everything. You've got a toaster that's got AI, and you've got a vinyl player that has AI. So I feel like machine learning is a lot more accurate and a lot more apt to how you
Yeah,
guys are using it and what it is. Yeah.
yeah, you're correct. When I originally used machine learning, but people ask me, okay, what does that mean? Is that AI? An AI? Put AI now. AI. Let's be honest. AI is everything and nothing. AI is not a in computer science. You have deep learning, you have NLP, you have machine learning, you have neural networks, you have multiple um, uh, AI practices. And AI is like an all-encompassing term that laymen's understand. It's specifically machine learning. Yeah, that's the more accurate term.
Yeah, so it's statistics based on what it known and continuously updates those statistics based on what it sees. That's cool. So your liquidity pools there, you have liquidity. I'm guessing you must have liquidity pools in every network that you support, every chain that you support, and also
Yes,
liquidity like fiat liquidity with the banks that you support, I guess, as well.
correct.
And the liquidity is provided by users with yield farming or with giving them rewards for providing liquidity. Is that the main? I'm trying to understand how your network would, how your system would scale up. Because if it
Mhm.
scales with users providing liquidity, then it's easy for you to adopt a new network. If you incentivize users, hey, there's a new pool there that needs to be filled. Here's some nice rewards for you, rather than you having to provide your own liquidity. That would be a
Right.
vertical scaling of the
Yes.
network cost.
So, uh, absolutely. So, in our tokenomics, we've built this flywheel.
Hmm.
The system, uh, the system with this machine learning models always strives to get back to some equilibrium on
Right.
all the liquidity pools. So it changes the fees that users pay. The fees are being paid to liquidity providers. They bring in more liquidity. They get the rewards, and then the rewards start going down back to their normal because we have enough liquidity. So the system always gets back to equilibrium. Now, what changes the equilibrium? It's either there's more demand uh, or either demand changes or supply changes.
Right.
How does demand change? When we add more applications or if applications get more popular. So when we add more applications, it changes. Now there are more users that need liquidity. They take out liquidity. So again, it incentivizes more liquidity providers to put their liquidity in to get the system back to equilibrium. So it's a very nice system that takes care of itself with mathematical models and
Hmm.
financial incentives. Now, this is the ecosystem that we're building. So the ecosystem is comprised of the node operator, the validators that operate the nodes and protect the blockchain. They
Yeah.
get rewarded also with part of the fees. And we
Sorry
have
to
the
interrupt, but the validators, do they need a specific hardware to be able to validate? I think I read something in the white
yes,
paper that, okay, what
yes,
is it? It's like a
yeah.
special kind of device.
So basically, it's a standard Intel server with a
Okay.
Xeon processor. The
Hmm.
reason we need Xeon is because we use an Intel technology that is deployed on the Intel chip that can encrypt data. That's a trusted execution environment on chip.
Right.
It's a technology that Intel calls SGX. Now we're using that uh, for further protection. So the validators, they hold secret shares. So the keys of the pools are being divided among the validators. So there's no single entity that has the key for the fund for the pools. The
Right.
shards of the key, every shard is being stored in an encrypted way on this chip. So this is an Intel architecture, and this is why we need servers that node operators or validators will run servers with a Xeon Intel server. This is why we have it in our specification.
That makes sense. And where can people get the validator from, and what is the cost of a validator?
No, so basically, we have some validators. We're just we're whitelisting validators. Not
Right.
anyone can become a validator. The validators, they can get these servers with the Intel processor. They can get it in Microsoft Azure on cloud, or they can just buy a Xeon server based Xeon based server and store it within their data center. It's not actually it's a pretty standard Intel server
Okay.
CPU.
Yeah, I mean Xeon is the is the baseline for server CPU. So any Xeon, probably
Um,
recent generation.
the recent ones, yes, we have a list of the models and the numbers. So it's not a tremendously expensive server. It's pretty affordable, but again, it's not that
Yeah.
we did not open up the node operation to anyone. We whitelist operators, at least at the beginning. This is we're going to stick to that. That's what is sometimes called the proof of authority. So you need to
Yeah.
know who's running the node, because with young networks, young proof of stake networks, and that's true for every POS network, not just Kima. There's always the risk of collusion of
Hmm.
validators. Now,
Yeah.
if you don't know who the validators are, what stops an illicit entity? And initially, those networks, they don't have thousands of validators. Okay, let's assume you have 100 validators that install the software and they now validate. If I'm and now the validators, I can run 200 validators and take over your network.
Yeah.
And if it's a proof of stake, then everyone has to stake tokens. And if the price of the token is not high enough, from a financial perspective, it's very easy to take over the network and do whatever you want with it.
Oh yeah.
So we need to protect the network. This is why we initially start with a permissioned set of validators.
Yeah, but well, I think that makes sense because the network is at its most vulnerable when it's in the starting phase. It's not decentralized enough. It's not big enough, and like you've just pointed out, you could easily hijack the network by running several hundred nodes, which you could deploy on AWS or Azure or something like that quite easily
Yeah,
if you really wanted to. So yeah,
exactly.
that's a good point. So I'm guessing in the future the plan is to decentralize more and more the protocol and the network and everything.
Um, we plan to reach in phase one up to 60 validators.
Okay.
We have ideas of further decentralization, but at the moment this is not. I think with the 60 validators, we're that's a good balance between safety and it's not really fully decentralized, but it's distributed enough to make sure that collusion is very difficult to achieve.
Right. So is the application open for anyone, or do you mainly work with, let's say, companies or institutions that are building something on Kima or are using Kima for something?
We actually we look at um, some added value that validators can contribute.
Okay.
For instance, we're partnered with Mastercard's Innovation Lab, and they're running a validator.
Right.
And we were part of the of our mission is to provide functionality for financial institutions. So we're inviting institutions and credible entities, corporates, to take part, not own, not control, but take part, contribute to this mission by running a node. So we're talking with several very high profile entities to run a node as well. We have some, we will have some private people, we have some professional node operators and validators in the Cosmos ecosystem. So we're trying to mix and match a variety of people, individuals, corporates.
That's very cool. And what are some cool applications that you've seen using Kima? I'm really interested to see like what people have built, and I guess that's what you're in a very interesting position of being able to see everyone using your infrastructure. That's I was talking to the guys at Dynamic that built the Web3 wallet application, and they were saying like it's one of the best part of the job, just being able, as an infrastructure provider, to go there and see what people are building, and they're building crazy things I haven't even thought about.
Absolutely. And I'm every day I speak with potential, customers, users, and the use cases that they bring. I always think that I thought about everything, every
Yeah.
potential use case, and then there's another one. I just before this call, I had a call with a potential customer from again a financial institution, and they came up with this. I cannot speak about it because it's too early, but they came up with a use case that I said, wow, I haven't thought about. It's so valuable and it's so disruptive, but it's something that I never thought about. So just a few examples. We some things that we already announced. We work with a company called Monabit in Colombia.
Hmm.
Monobit is they're issuing a prepaid Mastercard card for people uh, on an app. So they have a physical card and a virtual card, and
Cool.
their idea is to connect to be able to top up the card with crypto. So
Oh, nice.
you can hold USDT on Ethereum and use that to top up the card, and then you can go to the store and buy with Mastercard. So the merchant he already works with Mastercard, right? So the
Right.
POS system is accepts that card, but at the back end, the top up took place from a crypto wallet, and Kima is this link that enables people from any chain that we support to be able to top up those cards from Ethereum and Solana and Tron and Polygon and whatever. So it now becomes seamless. They can hold their stable coins, they can hold their currencies on every type of wallet, and they can top up as much as they want when they want, and that creates this seamless transition from crypto to the real world. So that's
That's very cool.
one example. We're speaking with exchanges, small and medium exchanges that do not have all the pairs in the world. So
Hmm.
if you go to a small exchange, so you have Bitcoin and USDT, But
Right.
what if you USDC? What if you have US dollars? So Kimo now provides this abstraction layer. Um, so yes, they can offer Bitcoin USDC, but now their customers can seamlessly use the USDT and send an order to this Bitcoin USDC or USDT order book, although they have a different type of asset.
Right.
So, and that increases liquidity, that creates, um, value. We're talking with real world asset platforms about enabling uh, what what they call DVP, deliver versus payment, which is basically
Uh-huh.
a nice term for paying for a tokenized asset from,
Right.
and we create this seamless process where you can pay with any type of asset and get the token or the tokenized asset in one atomic swap. So Kima provides this atomic swap. The token and the money exchange hands peer to peer in one transaction, which is
That's very cool.
it's atomic swap for real world assets. That's something again that is unique. So these are just a few examples of things that are beyond the traditional. Okay, let's move USDC from Polygon to Ethereum and put it in a lending protocol. Or obviously these are things that we can support, but we're interested in the real life use cases that we can uniquely support.
Yeah, and I think that's where it kind of becomes like magic is when you use it for something that's completely out of the ordinary. Like, yeah, exchanging from this chain to that chain is something that will happen. People will build these kind of, exchanges to for people to use with the nice interfaces and everything. But like, what happens if you integrate it into real life? What happens if you integrate it into an app like, I don't know, Uber, and you can pay with your crypto, or you can be a driver that earns tokens, or mechanisms that kind of all integrate within each other. And I think we're just going to see more and more of that. I think it's companies like yours that allow the next stage of development in crypto and technology to happen. It's that infrastructure layer, that like hardcore lower level kind of nitty gritty. Here are tools for you guys to build the next generation of applications. And without applications, like without infrastructure layer like Kima, you wouldn't be able to get to that level. So it's incredibly important to see infrastructure in crypto, and I think you guys are doing a fantastic job with Kima.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, 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 my pleasure. I was going to ask you, what do you have in store for your roadmap for this year and next year? Is there anything that you'd like to announce? Is there anything exciting coming to Kima? Anything at all?
Yeah, so actually, we're just about to go through some exciting, really exciting milestones. So, obviously, the major one is our mainnet launch, which is planned for June. That's right around the corner. And that's a huge milestone. That's really the manifestation of hard work of almost 3 years, 2.5 years, and that's really exciting. Obviously, in order to launch mainnet, there must be a token. Because we're a proof of stake network. So we're launching the token as part of this process. Um, in our roadmap, so we will have some major announcements. We're talking to some companies that are going to provide real, as I mentioned, it's all about making it real life value and sustainable. So we're going to, in the coming months, we're going to announce several projects and POCs that we're doing with these companies. Everyone, stay tuned because those announcements will be pretty unique. The other major milestone would be later this year when we launch the fiat support. So that will essentially create a unique ability to on ramp and off ramp without an exchange in the middle in very attractive fees, lower than anything that is available today. And that's huge because there's huge demand for on ramp and off ramp and secure, fast, and cheap services to do that. We are going to also announce once it's available, um, not too far, the Bitcoin support, and that will create a new level of utility for Bitcoin holders because we will create this seamless transfer of Bitcoin into the Ethereum ecosystem through WBTC.
Right.
So you will be able, with a seamless user experience, to, for instance, take a loan in Aave with your Bitcoin.
That's
Um,
cool.
so, in one click, I just approve the transaction on Bitcoin, and you're getting USDC as a loan in Aave, just as an example. So it's not just connecting traditional finance and DeFi; it's connecting also Bitcoin, which has, everyone knows, an immense TVL in it, but a very low utility because it's completely isolated from the rest of the innovation. So
Yeah.
connecting Bitcoin to Ethereum, connecting Bitcoin to Solana with a click of a button and a seamless experience and the secure one is something that we want to bring to this industry and contribute with that. So that's also coming. These are just a few nuggets. We have so many other ideas, but I think that by itself is quite a lot.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, the mainnet launch coming up in June, and then all these incredible things and features that people are going to be using. Um, it's incredibly exciting. What are some of the places where people can go and keep up to date with all of this, with your releases and roadmap?
So we're very active in LinkedIn, in Telegram. We have a group in Telegram. We have a channel where we do the announcements. We have a Discord, so that's also very active. We have a developers channel on the developers group on Telegram. So that's we invite developers to be part of the ecosystem, to contribute ideas and share the needs and the pain points that can be solved, and we feed that feedback into our plans, our product plans, and the backlog. So I'm reading comments there. This is something that we just started, so it's up and coming. Not too much there yet, but we're going to put a lot of effort in building the developers community. So I invite people to join and contribute because this is how we will foster, this is how we will progress by getting people's pain points in the context of interoperability. So that's very important. We're very active on Twitter. So yeah, the typical stuff, but um, I invite everyone to participate.
Awesome. Well, it is great to see companies and just people, actually connecting over the tech and kind of providing useful feedback or their own thoughts, like um, we're talking to people a lot. Like we've started an algorithmic trading platform a few years ago. We've been working it for a few years. We've released it in May last year, and being a startup, you get to talk to the people, you get to talk to the users that use your product, and listen to their feedback, to the good things and the bad things. And um, I just say it's a great position for everyone to be in, to be able to have that first, like that two-way communication. So it's great to see that you're
Absolutely.
doing that. And yeah, I encourage everyone that's interested in interoperability to go check it out. Maybe go hang out in the Telegram, on the Discord. um,
Absolutely.
Well, listen, this has been an amazing conversation. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I wish you guys all the best on your mainnet launch. I will keep an eye out to get the news and to see that it's all run smoothly. I'm sure that it will. And I'd love to maybe connect, I don't know, next year or something to kind of see what the progress is and what are some of the things that people have built on Kima. It'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. I take the invitation. And we'll be more than happy to update you and your audience on our progress. And I'm sure there will be many changes compared to what I just said. That's natural. And I hope it will change because that means that we listen to the market and that's the way to move forward. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present Kima and this very nice conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Me too. No, it's been great. Thank you, Eitan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye now.